Okay, in this tutorial we're going to be looking at spline modeling in 3DSMax and basically using spline modeling to create a car. So just to demonstrate how spline modeling works, I'll just delete that. Basically you make a spline cage from splines, like so. And then you apply geometry to that using the Surface Modifier, and then you can apply an edit poly and edit that as you would a normal edit polygon object. So you have all the kind of edit poly tools available to you. So the first thing to look at then, real quick in this brief explanation, on the Surface Modifier you'll see you have a steps setting. Now if you put that on, you'll see that it increases the level of detail in your model. Although it doesn't display the topology here, this is actually now a very detailed mesh, and you can tell that by putting an edit poly modifier on it, and then you can see the actual topology. Okay, so let's have a quick look at our spline cage. So you can see we've got sets of 4 points everywhere. Now this is essential for Surface. Basically Surface will work from sets of 4 points to build the geometry between. So you must always make sure that your spline cages are composed of sets of 4 points. You can use 3 points as well, but you should always stick with kind of quads. Okay, so another thing to know about spline cages, if I just select a vertex here and move it, you can see it's not actually welded to it, it's not actually stuck to it here like you would find in Edit Poly. You do have a weld option and a fuse option, but they still don't actually stick them together. Now this is where Surface comes in. So let's just move that out to there and we get a Surface. You'll see that because that's not a complete set of 4 anymore, it's not building the geometry. Now if we move this a bit closer though, say to there, so it's nearly touching, you'll see it's still not making the geometry, but if I increase this threshold, suddenly it pops in. And that's because that threshold, for each vertex, it looks in that area, so that's looking in a radius of 2.5 around it. Now, when you're doing your models, just bear in mind that this threshold, it can mean your model might initially look ruined, basically. So if we put 100 threshold in, if your model comes out looking like that, just try a lower threshold. So try 1, try 0.1, and so on. So just bear in mind that if your model does come in and it's not working properly, it might be just because that threshold is out. So if you do find yourself with a vertex like that, you can use snap and set it to endpoint, and S on the keyboard to turn snap on and off, and just move it into place. So you'll find you use a lot of snaps when you're doing spline modeling. Okay, so that's the brief kind of explanation of it. It's Untitled. So I'm just going to delete these out, and I want you to open the file f50plans.max. So we're going to use this to make an F50 from splines. I'm just going to go back to 4 views and just get all this kind of lined up. Okay, so we're going to start in our front view here. I'm going to go to the Create tab and select Line. Then we're going to make the door frame area first. So I'm going to click at the top, I'm going to click there, and one there, and one there. So my spline will end up looking like that. Then if I just right click, that will end creation mode. So we'll go to vertex mode, and the next thing we're going to do is just come out of this view. We're going to line these up in our other views. So I'm going to drag that to there, so these 3, and drag these to there. And I want to select this one here and drag that across to there. Let's make sure these are lined up properly. Now you see here there's a discrepancy between the top and the side view, so try to line it up in this one and then it doesn't line up in this one. Now you often find with plans they're not exact, so in this kind of case what you want to do is pick one view to be your main view, and I'm going to use my side view here and then use the other views to help you, but this is the main one. If there's a line that's out, use this one. Use your side view. Okay, so with that spline made, I'm going to go to spline mode, so here, or 3 on the keyboard, hold shift and just clone that across. I'm going to go to vertex mode and I'm just going to tweak these. Pull those up, go to there, up to there, and up to there. Now you notice that they're very angular, our splines, at the moment. So we can fix that because we can obviously see this has got some curved, curved area that we're trying to follow. We can right click and go to smooth, or do the same on this one. You can actually multiple select and do it too, like so. And we could do the same on this one. So set these all to smooth. Now obviously now it's curved, but it's still not following the line of the geometry, and this area looks a bit knackered. So in that case you have to try using Bezier or Bezier Corner. So we'll try Bezier Corner first, and then we're going to pull the handles in. We'll do Bezier Corner on this one too. Now if you find this, you see the way I'm locked on the axis? If you press F8, that will switch back to 2 axes and you can move around again. You'll probably find that happens quite a lot, so make sure you remember that. So F8 on your keyboard to switch back to 2 move modes. Moving in 2 axes. So Bezier Corner, I'm going to pull this in like so. Okay, so that one shouldn't curve around like that, so let's fix that. Okay, so we're best off checking those 2 splines in our other view. So this view here, and that shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so 2 splines made, we can now go to cross section and select one spline to the other. And you can see we're starting to make a spline gauge. It draws cross sections lines between each of the points. Now obviously to use this tool you have to make sure you have the same amount of points in each spline. So I'm just going to clone this again and show you a few potential issues. So for a start, if we refine, go to vertex mode, go to refine, another point in here. If we go to cross section now and try and do it, you'll see it does that, so that's not what we want. So another issue might be if you go to spline mode, and we'll leave that there, go to cross section, and if you don't click them in order, you'll get that kind of result. So it'll follow, the cross section will flow along whichever order you've clicked your splines. Okay, so we will cross section these 2 though. Like so. And then what we're going to do is just move on to doing the front section of the car here. Now you see obviously the first problem we run into is the wheel arch here. So I'm just going to show you a little trick for doing wheel arches. If we go to create mode and go to circle, let's make this really big. I'm going to click in the centre of the wheel and drag out to create circle. I'm using F3 by the way to toggle wireframe on and off. Now if you right click on that and do convert to editable spline, then select segment mode, I'm going to select these 2, I'm going to hit the divide button, I'll do the same up here. Oops, it's detach, not divide. Okay, I'm going to delete these two, and I'm going to move these two into place. Now obviously I need to tweak the corners. I might be able to just set that to corner actually. That'll do for now. Obviously, never forget to come back into your other views and check that the spline is in the right position. Okay, so now I'm going to select this line and just attach the two together. So now in vertex mode, you can see that. Really useful little tip actually, if you right click on your spline and go Object Properties and turn on Vertex Ticks, then you will always see the vertices, which is really useful for when we come to do some of the later stages of this. So we go to segment mode, and we'll notice here that's going to join to there, but this can't join to here, so we're going to need another segment in that shape. Now obviously when you're modelling a car, or anything with splines, you want to plan out how many vertices you need in your spline straight off the bat. So I would have pre-modelled this with an extra cut in here. The reason you do this straight from an early stage is because if you have to go around adding in tons of points, it's going to take you ages to edit those, whereas if you'd done it straight away, you would already have the shape kind of defined. So to add endpoints, there's a couple of ways to do it. The first way, if we select two edges, is to just use divide. And the second way, if you don't want them dead in the centre, is to go to refine, and then you can actually click where you want the points to go. If we now go to create line, turn on snap, and just make sure you're on endpoint, and then click and click. Now actually what we can do is create our other lines as well. So left click, left click, left click, left click. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. So let's apply a surface modifier to this. And there we go, we can see we're starting to define the shape. One little thing I wanted to show you actually with create line that I forgot to do then. If I create a line and click and hold, it will actually smooth it off, which can be useful at times, but if you ever find that you do one and it's kind of knackered up like that, the reason will be that, so just undo it, just make sure you click once and then click again. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is this top line up here. So if we go to line mode, in fact on this object I'm just going to turn off the surface because we want to see the points. So again line mode, and I'm going to start here, I'm going to follow the points that I've put in. So one there, one there, and then just for now one down there as well. So we'll go to modify line and we'll smooth these off. And one little thing I've noticed actually down here that I forgot to do, if we come to Vertex Tool, now we've got those in, we can use these points to create the door. Again, that's the kind of thing I would have done straight off the bat, but I wanted to show you kind of inserting, how to insert extra points and things like that, and to show you the importance of making sure the importance of making sure you get your vertex number right from the start. Okay, so let's just go back to this line here. Again, making sure in your top view you line that up too. So that's actually going to line up with this one here. Sorry, it's not. It's going to line up here. So I can use my top view now as a guide to get those into place. Sorry, another useful tool actually. If you click into select first of all, just attach these together. If you click into select and it's only selecting one vertex, then you have to do like a little multi-select to get them all. But you can turn on area selection here, and that means if you just click on a vert, it will select it for you. Okay, so one thing I'm going to quickly do is just pull these two in a little bit to match up with the actual plans. That's something I didn't do earlier. Let's pull those in. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go to create line, turn on snap, and just create those points there. Let's have a look at how that looks with the surface now. So obviously it's only making the sets of 4, which is part of the wheel arch that we've done at the moment. So we're going to come back down to segment, and we're going to create this bottom base here. Now, let's show you another little trick you can do. If you hold shift, you can actually drag and kind of copy elements there. So if I turn on snap mode, you can now snap that to there. And pull that, pull that up to match with the base there, and make sure I'm in the right place here. Then I can use create line again, snap to there, refine that point, create line, turn on snap with S, just snap those points to there. Now I'm quickly going to make sure they're all lined up correctly. And then I'm going to add in an extra point here. So we'll refine, because you can see at the moment, just undo that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we need another point here in order to define that set of 4, that quad. And then lastly, we're going to make another line down here, and the reason for that is it curving round and also the headlight. So great line. Okay, so with all those points added, it's important to make sure that we go in and make sure they're all kind of moved into the right place. And remember to tweak any handles afterwards. So obviously, although each of these is more fiddly to use, then it's going to convert that to smooth. And that one as well. So this technique is more fiddly with each vertex because there's such a less amount of vertices. It could still be much quicker. So yeah, but we're getting somewhere with that now. So the next thing we're going to do is the actual part of the bonnet. Actually, I've still got a bit of tweaking to do there. I mean, I'm not doing this exactly, to be honest. I'm not. You know, I'm not taking this as seriously as I would be if I was having to do this for a client or something. Okay, so we will now select that spline. And what we can do is hold shift again. You can actually just clone the spline along. And that's where this gets really powerful, because we just change it to wireframe mode, to smooth mode. We can now actually just create the bonnet by editing this spline. So we can see that's obviously going to need to snap over there, but we can use our front view here to determine where the spline should be. So I think actually we'll leave that spline there for now. I want you to clone that spline there. Go to vertex mode. And we'll make this line here. So I'm gradually going to ramp that down. And remember to change the handles if you need to. I might just try changing that back to smooth, because it doesn't need to be a handle. It's going to be really useful to change them all back to smooth, just for ease of editing, and then you can change them back to Bezier if you need to. Okay, so with that done, we're going to use that spline, and we're just going to, oh, sorry, one sec, big mistake there. Let's move that up to there. So with that spline made, I'm actually just going to shift and drag it straight up, and then shift and drag it across. Use scale mode, and just scale it right down on Y to flatten it off. And then move mode and move it to there. So one thing I want to make sure if I go to vertex mode is snapping up to there. Okay, so we can still see that we've got some issues with this. This needs to come down here. So we want to move each vertex. Like so. So we'll want to tweak these. To line up. So you can see as your cage gets more complex, the process gets a bit more complex as well. Okay, so we'll go to cross section. Make sure you select the right ones. And you can see, there we go, we have the completed first section. Okay, so we'll just, if we don't do it like that, we use mirror. Let's clone that over and have a look. So we see we've got the start of our car here. Now something I just want to quickly show you is the ways you can work after you've finished making your spline cage. Now at the moment, if I put an edit poly onto this, you see that's the detail within our model. So, you know, we've got the kind of harsh edges and things like that, but we do have a lot of geometry that's simply not kind of doing anything. So you could remove this by going and selecting kind of each loop that you don't want, and then just holding the John hit remove. So you could go through it like that to define your shape. And then obviously you can use things like shell modifier on this as well to give the model some thickness. Now there is another way to work though as well, so because this gives you another good advantage of this tool is the kind of level of flexibility it gives you. So if you clone your shape here, come back down to surface and put the divisions down, yep, sorry, I just realised why I bought that. But the reason why that broke actually was because when I cloned it and my surface here, I changed the level of things here, then that means all these changes here, which are just transformations of vertices, are now affecting different vertices. So that's why that's happened. So we'll just remove that. And this time I'm going to put my steps down to, well, I'm actually going to need that. Balls us up a little bit, but we'll get back there in the end. Okay, so we'll clone that and go to copy this time. And this time in surface, I'm not going to put it to 5, I'm going to put it on, say, 2. I'm going to apply an edit poly to that. You can see this time I've got much less detail in my mesh. But then I'm going to apply a turbo smooth to that and smooth the model off like so. So now if you look, you might not be able to see it on here, but you're actually getting a different smooth result. The poly count is very similar, but the way it's smoothed is different. So here is very harsh edge, but on this one we have a small bevel going on. So we could try putting that down again and down again. Even on one, like so. Or you could try even higher. So you can see you can actually get a different result depending on the smoothing choice that you use. See, one advantage of the turbo smooth version is, if we just put that say down again, go to edit poly and turn that off, you can now edit all your guidelines and add more in. So if you wanted to add a loop in here for smoothing, if you wanted to say tweak this loop to here to make it an even harsher edge, you can do that. So yeah, so that's the kind of basics of spline modeling.